Hi everyone, I'm Upeka Vijayaratna and uh, we have Tehan with us, and then we have a couple of people that work at Amplify with us. So basically, I'd like to get started with the presentation. So good evening everyone. Being tasked with something complex, constantly evolving and always in motion. What we do at Amplify every day. Today, we are going to explore how we leverage Agile to meet these challenges head on in software development. First, we'll into a real world example, our creation an AI powered fraud detection system for a major telecommunication company. I'll kick things off by introducing you to the landscape of software methodologies and why Agile stands out. And then Tehan, who was the tech lead for this project, will walk you through our process step by step. Okay, then let's get started and see Agile in action. To give you an overview of what we would be speaking about, first, we would start with explaining uh, the different software methodologies and how what waterfall versus agile is, and then we would talk about why agile is key in modern software development. The challenges, one of the challenges, as in one of the projects that we were working on, the undetected sales fraud system and the solution we came up with, how different teams collaborated in different departments to build this solution to come up with the solution and the prediction, and also the conclusion and the key takeaways. And we have a small Q&A session if y'all have any questions. All right then.
Yeah, thanks, Upeka. So guys, before we talk about the project and the case study and all that, let's just touch base on two of the main software development methodologies used in today's world. So first up is waterfall, which is a very old software development method, which almost nobody uses these days. So what waterfall is essentially picture a waterfall where you start from the requirements, as you can see in the diagram, and then the design, implementation, testing, and then deployment. Once you come to the next step, there is no going back. So in essence, once you make the plan, there's no going back. So take this example for a second. So you're building a house, right? And you have a blueprint for the house and the plan for the house. And say that halfway through you realize, okay, you don't want the window here, you want it somewhere else. If you're using waterfall, you can't do it. Why? Because that's how it's a step-by-step process where you finish one step completely and then move on to the next. This is why Agile is such a game changer these days, where it's basically like remodeling a house you live in, where, for instance, where you build the house and then you decide you want to change it, change the layout or whatever. Agile will make that possible for you. And why this is key is, which we will be talking about in the next couple of slides, is due to the rapid evolving of today's technology. Now let's talk a little bit about why Agile is so important and why wherever you go, whichever software company you join, it's always Agile. Nobody uses any other software development methodology. So let's talk about why it's key in modern software development. So like I said in the previous slide, with Agile, we are able to move faster, but at the same time, we're able to move smarter. Imagine, let's take this as an example. Imagine you're baking a cake for a client, okay? Baking a cake now. And you're using Agile as a methodology to bake the cake. So instead of giving them the entire finished cake and delivering it to their house or whatever, you give them slice by slice. You bake slice by slice. What this does is it allows the client to taste it and see how it looks, see how it feels, and then give you feedback so you can adjust the recipe and whatever if needed, right? That's agile in a nutshell. So by delivering in small pieces, or as sprints as we call it, we get to listen to the feedback the client may or may not have, make changes according to that feedback, and keep improving, which will keep the client happy. So this continuous loop of feedback basically is very crucial, especially when dealing with complex solutions such as AI and machine learning. So using a methodology like Agile allows us to stay ahead, continuously improving while collaborating closely with the client.
So, let me go through one of the projects that we did, which is a sales fraud detection system. So basically, let me tell you about the project. We were working with a major telecommunication company that had a very serious problem. It was sales fraud. Okay, they were losing a lot of revenue over this because of fraudulent transactions that were slipping through their current system. Now, think about the scale here. Massive amounts of sales data is generated every day. Okay, this company was dealing with enormous volumes of sales data, and hidden within that data were fraudulent activities costing them millions of rupees daily on a daily basis. Okay, so they needed a solution that could identify these anomalies in real time. That's where we stepped in. Our goal was to develop an AI powered fraud detection system that could scan their sales data continuously and flag suspicious activities before any real damage could occur. So basically, it was built to digitize the current processes that they were doing that were manually done. And this made it easier for them to track sales data in real time and which was very, very helpful for them. And Agile as a software methodology helped us a lot throughout the way. First, we started with data, we cleaned it up, organized it, and then made sure it was very usable for the AI. And that was a sprint. That entire process was a sprint. And in sprint two, we developed initial AI model, which was able to catch a lot of anomalies, and it also helped us improve the system because we constantly received clients' feedback and everything. Sprint three, and by the sprint three, we were able to develop a system that was fully that all the gave us the features that the client initially required. And by the time we reached sprint 4 and 5, we were testing it with real world data, tweaking it further until we could detect fraud in real time.
Yes, so now let us talk about how the solution was built from basically the concept that we had initially until the production level. So the first step is basically to gather the requirements from the client, and so this is the most important step because in software development, or rather in the industry, the client will not come and tell you how the app should work, or rather, let me rephrase that, how the app should be built. Like, the client is not going to come and say, okay, I want an API to communicate with the database, fetch the data, and then show it to the user. No, the client is not going to say that. The only thing the client will tell you is, in like 95% of the time, he or she will come and say, I want an app or a web app or whatever that does XYZ. So it's up to us to communicate with the client, communicate with our team to get the best possible understanding of what the client requirements are. And in this day and age, since the client needs may vary from time to time with time, and since the technology is also evolving, we can't always have the widest understanding or the 100% understanding of what the client may want, because it changes from time to time, right? So that is why in the process of building the solution, the first step is gather the requirements initially. build a prototype, put it in front of the users, right, of the targeted audience, or rather limited number of people. As you may already know, it's called beta testing, where you show the app or whatever or feature to a certain limited number of people, get their feedback, and then improve the feature, add more features, and then deploy. So this will go on in a cycle until all the features are implemented. So after each feature, we put it in front of the user, get feedback, improve, develop a new feature, and so on and so on. So after all the features have been developed and all the QA is done, the quality assurance is also done, we deploy it. We deploy it using CI/CD pipelines, which I'm sure you all have heard of. CI/CD stands for continuous integration and continuous development, which is basically when you commit code to GitHub, it will automatically build it, test it, and it will deploy. So we deploy our system using a CI/CD pipeline. Once the deployment is done, the production deployment is done, we basically, the next step is to either implement new features using the same cycle that we used earlier, or attend any bug fixes that may arise during production. Now let us talk about how during the course of the development of software, how different teams communicate with each other to make sure we deliver the best possible product to the client. So when I say teams, you know that in IT or in software or in Agile rather, there are various roles. You get UX, UI, dev, quality assurance, BA. So I'm going to talk about 3 of those, as you can see here: UX, UI, development, and quality assurance. So now first off, let's talk about what the QA does. So the UX, sorry, my bad. Let's first talk about what the UX, UI engineers do. The UX, UI team is basically, what their job is to turn complex data into easy to use, accessible user interfaces. They create dashboards that clearly display sales data, in our case, sales data, and make it actionable. So they're the ones that work closely with the stakeholder, in essence, the client, to make sure that the UI is the optimal, so that the client can use it without basically thinking too much. So there's this book by a renowned UX UI engineer called, it's literally titled, Don't Make Me Think. So the goal of a UI UX engineer is to make the user get from point A to point B in an application with minimal effort. That's the essence of a UI UX engineer. Next up, we'll move on to developer, or dev team rather, as we call it. So in our case, or in the case of this project that we spoke about, the dev team's goal was to build and improve the AI system after breaking each feature into agile sprints, where we developed features, listened to the feedback, integrated whatever the changes that were extracted from the feedback, and made ongoing adjustments. This approach allowed us to quickly adapt and enhance the system based on real-time input. Last but not least, we have the quality assurance team, or the QA team, which is, in a nutshell, what they do is basically testing. They will test your system before we move on to production. We will have something we call the QA release, where the quality assurance team run their various test cases and notify the dev team of any bugs that may arise, bugs, errors, crashes, whatnot. So the QA will notify the dev team will fix those bugs, and then output another QA release. And once the QA release is passed from the QA department, we will move on to the production. So those are how these 3 agile rules helped us in making the best product for our client. So now let's talk about what we achieved from this project. So first off, we were able to deploy the real-time fraud detection system. And it helped, as Upeka mentioned, it helped the client reduce the number of fraudulent transactions happening through the system. And this made the client extremely happy because, as I said, minimizing fraud means more revenue. So they were extremely happy with what we were able to provide for them. And last but not least is the scalability of our solution, which is basically the user base is going to evolve in the sense the user base is going to increase, and the system needs to be able to handle large amounts of data. So the way we've developed this system, it's scalable. And at the same time, since we're using AI and machine learning algorithms, it'll train itself into detecting new fraud patterns so that it'll seamlessly update and maintain to the system, making the system a great scalable solution.
Here's what I want you to take away from today's presentation. Agile allows us to be a lot more flexible. It allows you to adapt quickly and also to continuously improve a software that is currently under development. It also helps you to collaborate across teams that is in your company. In a company, for example, the UI UX team, the QA development team, and there are people that makes this possible to bring out a software that is really like the client and also that is a very good software. And most importantly, involving a client in each and every step of the way helps and ensures that we are always in the right path and we are delivering a faster, smarter solution. That's how we work here at Amplify, and that's why Agile works for us. Thank you. If you guys have any questions, we would like to answer them.
Guys, any questions? If y'all need to like just unmute and ask. If you're shy to talk, just put it on the chat and we'll be more than happy to answer. Okay.
pipeline එකක් කියන්නේ මොකක්ද කියලා?
pipeline එකක් කියන්නේ හරියටම දැන් ඔයා හිතන්න අපේ සර්වර් එකක් තියෙනවා. හරිද? අපේ වෙබ් සර්වර් එකක් තියෙනවා. අපේ ඇප්ලිකේෂන් එක රන් වෙන්නේ එක සර්වර් එකක. So අපි GitHub වල තමයි අපේ කෝඩ් එක ස්ටෝර් කරන්නේ. අපි කවදාක්වත් කම්පියුටර් එකේ locally කෝඩ් එක ස්ටෝර් කරන්නේ නැහැ. GitHub වල ස්ටෝර් කරනවා. එතකොට අපි මොකක් හරි ෆීචර් එකක් ඉම්ප්ලිමන්ට් කරලා චේන්ජ් එකක් කරලා කෝඩ් එකට අපි කරනවා commit කියලා දෙයක්. GitHub කියන්නේ GitHub එකට අපි commit කරනවා කෝඩ් එක. So ඒ commit කරන සැරේට අපිට ඕනේ ඒ ෆීචර් එක ආයි deploy වෙන්නනේ සර්වර් එකට නේද? අපි කරන change එක QA approve කරා නම් අපිට ඕනේ ඒක සර්වර් එකට දාන්න. ඒක තේරෙනවනේ ඔයගලන්ට? හරි. ඉතින් ඒ සර්වර් එකට දාන ඒ deploy වෙන ඒ part එක තමයි එතනදි තමයි pipeline එක වෙන්නේ. pipeline එකකින් වෙන්නේ අපි කරන commit එකකින් commit එකට automatically server එකට deploy වෙන විදිහට අපි script එකක් ලියනවා. So ඒක තමයි pipeline එක කියලා කියන්නේ. ඒක ඒ වචනේ තේරුම එහෙම් පිටින්ම ගන්න එපා. pipeline එක කියන්නේ නිකන් තව script එකක් විතරයි. ඒ script එකකින් වෙන්නේ මම නිකන් ඔයගලන්ට කියන script එක pipeline script එක සාමාන්‍ය මොනවද තියෙන්නේ කියලා. ඒකේ තියෙනවා අපේ code එකේ files ටික server එකට copy කරන්න ඉස්සෙල්ලා. ඊට පස්සේ අපි අලුත් code එකකින් අපි ආයි build කරලා තමයි ආයි deploy ගන්න ඕනේ. So ඔය ටික තමයි අර pipeline එකෙන් වෙන්නේ. ඒක අපි manually කරන්න ඕන එක අපි automate කරන එක තමයි pipeline එක කරා වෙන්නේ. ඒක චුට්ටක් මම දන්නේ ඒක ඇත්තටම බේසික් නැහැ. හැබැයි ඔයගොල්ලෝ මේ ඉන්ඩස්ට්‍රි එකට එනකොට ඔය ටික ගන්නට මේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ ඔළුවට යනවා. ඒක ඔයගලන්ට ඒක කොම්ප්ලිකේටඩ් වැඩි නම් මම කියපු විදිය පොඩ්ඩක් කියන්න මම ආයි මේ ටිකක් සිම්පල් විදියට එක්ස්ප්ලেইন කරන්න.
හරි අපි පොඩි සරල අදහසක් ගත්තා අපි thank you.
හරි හරි. you're welcome. තව මොන හරි ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවද?
නෑ අයියා හරි අපිට දැන
හරි හරි මල්ලි. එහෙනම් thank you so much for joining. ඔයගලන්ට මොන හරි ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා නම් අපේ LinkedIn වල අපි ඉන්නවා. එහෙම වුණොත් ටග් ගාලා මෙසේජ් එකක් දාන්න. අපි මේ බය වෙන්න එපා reach out වෙන්න. මේ ඔව් එහෙනම් thank you so much for joining.
thank you අයියේ